how did you and Justin decide to make the leap into starting DeLong and Sons? Like, talk to me about your startup journey. What had you guys go, all right, we're going to do this for ourselves and go for it?
After being saddled with a lot of the same headaches a business owner would have, everything from scheduling to making sure jobs were profitable to managing some of the people underneath him, he decided that if he was going to have those headaches, he might as well have those headaches owning his own business.
What have you found that works great for you guys? And did you have an example of anything where something either funny happened or one side kind of got to decide something over the other?
When it comes to the technical side of things, he's definitely that's his forte, whereas the office and the managing of people and managing of customers is definitely my better side of things. It's been trial and error. There are some things that have worked and there are some things that have not, and spark arguments, and I would do it this way. Well, no, this way works better, and just button heads every now and again. But I think that's part of being married and trying to run a business together.
All right. Welcome to the Superpro podcast, the heartbeat of home service excellence. I'm Roland Leitenberg. I'm your host. I'm also the co-founder of House Call Pro, and I'm an advocate for all the hardworking pros out there that help make our homes better, safer, stronger, more comfortable. Through House Call Pro, I've had the privilege of supporting hundreds of thousands of pros just like you, empowering you all to achieve more, stress less, and redefine success in our industry. Today, I'm super excited. We've got an amazing guest, Amber DeLong. She isn't just running a business, she's building a legacy in the small town of Shoemakersville, just an hour and a half north of Philly for those of you folks. We're recording this right after the Super Bowl, so she is a very happy fan. She's one of the co-owners of DeLong and Sons HVAC. Amber just turned part-time side hustle into a $1.3 million powerhouse just this last year in a few short years, and plans to hit 1.7 this year. So starting in 2021 with nothing but paper tracking, we're going to talk a little bit about that, and determination. She now manages 5 employees and juggles the challenges of family business life. We're going to talk a little bit about husband-wife partnerships and how that survives in the trades. I'm super excited. Amber, you've been through quite a journey. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So the first question I love to ask here is, how did you and Justin decide to make the leap into starting DeLong and Sons? Like, talk to me about your startup journey. What had you guys go, all right, we're going to do this for ourselves and go for it?
He started in the industry straight out of high school. He went to Votech and spent the first 15 years of his time in the industry working for other large companies here in the area. And after being saddled with a lot of the same headaches a business owner would have, everything from scheduling to making sure jobs were profitable to managing some of the people underneath him, he decided that if he was going to have those headaches, he might as well have those headaches owning his own business instead of working for somebody else and not getting a say in the core values of a company. So what started as part-time, where he would go out some evenings and some weekends working for friends and family and by word of mouth. One day, after enough headaches working for somebody else, we decided the time is right. So we spent a couple months meeting with some other friends and family members who own their own business to try to get a better understanding of what we were getting ourselves into. And after a couple months, we decided that the flexibility in being able to set your own schedule and being able to run a company how you want it to be run and the values that you want to instill, we decided that it was time for us to make the jump. So we started the company with the intent of it being at the core family values, which we one night were laying around watching TV, and he was like, well, what would I call the company? And we, as a joke, he said DeLong and Sons, because we have 2 kids. I was like, well, that's it. Right there's the fire that sparked the journey. And here we are a couple years later and still chugging along.
I mean, you guys have grown tremendously just over a couple of years. Did you always intend to get into business with your husband? And has that always been something like you and Justin talked about? Or is this something where it's like, all right, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it together? Or is this kind of like, oh, Justin got in win over his head and you came in to save him? Like, how did that story go?
I am a self-admitted control freak. So there was no starting it unless we were in it together. And we counterbalance each other really well. Where he's really good, I lack, and where I'm really good, he lacks. So we really balance each other pretty well. And at the end of the day, our goal is to hopefully have a company that one day our kids maybe want to take over, and continuing that generational wealth and legacy.
Yeah. And when it comes to like things that you're good at that he's not, maybe for some of the other listeners, some members of the audience here, like how do you go about finding those strengths and weaknesses? Because I think sometimes that's kind of hard, and then splitting responsibilities at work is different than at home. What have you found that works great for you guys? And did you have an example of anything where something either funny happened, or one side kind of got to decide something over the other?
I definitely make a lot of the decisions because like I said, I am a control freak. I am the extrovert who will talk to anybody about anything. He has no issue selling, but sitting here talking to somebody on a podcast or standing up in front of a group of kids is not his forte. I am relatively more organized than what he is, and I'm also much more computer and technology savvy than what he is. But ask me a question about a heat pump, and I'm probably not going to be able to answer it. So when it comes to the technical side of things, he's definitely that's his forte, whereas the office and the managing of people and managing of customers is definitely my better side of things. It's been trial and error. There are some things that have worked, and there are some things that have not, and spark arguments, and I would do it this way. Well, no, this way works better, and just button heads every now and again. But I think that's part of being married and trying to run a business together.
I can imagine. And so there's no situations where you're flipping a coin and it's, whichever side goes. No. Nope. So you're heads and heads on that coin, essentially.
Yeah. The only coin flip that might be coming is if we are going to take some time off on Friday to go watch the Super Bowl parade.
Nice. I think you managed the business really well if you could get to that point, because I think, there's going to be, I don't know, who knows, in Philly, there's going to be a lot of activity on Friday. You might get a lot of calls there. But if you could take time away, I mean, you built a team, you've got 5 other employees that are out there. What are some of the kind of challenges or things you've had to work through that, you think if you could tell your younger self a little bit, hey, like you're going to hit this, do this if you see this happen?
Finding the right people and the right team underneath you. We're very lucky with the employees that we do have now. They are all they all follow what our values are and really step up when we need them to. Like if we're out of town for a sporting event for our kids, if I could go back and do some things differently, it would find a way to be a little bit more prepared to interview people. Our first couple hires were not the greatest, but neither one of us had ever had to interview somebody before or make a determination if they were going to be a good fit for our company or not. So our first couple hires were not the greatest, and that was definitely quite the learning curve for us. But now that we have a great group of guys, it allows us to be a little bit more flexible with our time and our ability to be able to do things outside of work, whether that be, attend sporting events for our children during the day or travel or anything like that.
Yeah. And talk to me a little bit about learning skills that you previously didn't know much about before. So like HR, and you talked a little bit about interviewing, but accounting, how did you do that? Because I think a lot of our pros get into business because they've got great technical knowledge, how to do the work when it comes to fixing and repairing stuff. But then all these other things that actually comes to running a business that you have to know, how did you do that?
A lot of Google and AI and trial and error. And we are very lucky to have some great supply houses. We have a fantastic supply house and a fantastic salesperson who owned his own business previously. So he has been instrumental in our growth and making sure that we stay on the path of growth and doing whatever he can to help us grow. He goes above and beyond. He even went as far as helping us put a transmission in one of our vans when it broke down on a weekend. So we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for the people we surround ourselves with, whether that be family, friends, people who we've met along the way. And I had a little bit of a background in minor marketing and accounting from my time in corporate America. And Justin had some previous business experience in taking business classes. But a lot of it's been trial and error. Google this, see if I'm doing it right, and hope for the best. And if it wasn't the best, then find somebody who can either fix it or figure out how to fix it on my own.
I mean, hidden within what you just said is like the golden nugget, which is, I feel like everyone to some degree has a little bit of like imposter syndrome, or maybe doesn't even know all the things. And there's nothing wrong with going to Google. There's nothing wrong with going to YouTube. There's so much great content out there. I promise you the things that you're experiencing in your business have been experienced by millions of other people that are also in their business. So don't feel afraid about that. And I say the second golden nugget is just surround yourself with other good people that can help you along the way. I mean, there's being resourceful as an individual, and part of being resourceful is like understanding the network and the people around you. And you guys have done a great job at doing that. And I think it's unique too at the supply house, working with a territory manager or a sales guy or a territory manager that really understands like, what it is like to be on the other side of the table too, and kind of help you along the way. Because obviously if you grow, he grows too. And so those incentives are really well aligned. So if you can find places where incentives are well aligned too, trust your instinct and reach out, and they've probably got some interesting things to tell you. And
our supply house, I can't say enough great things about them. They go above and beyond for us, and they do things that it just doesn't end with me buying a part from you. It ends with regular outings where you're meeting with the owner of the supply house who remembers your children's names and talks about creating generational wealth for your children. They go above and beyond and really are very heavily involved behind the scenes in making sure that we are as successful as what we can be.
Yeah, I love surrounding yourself with others that are looking, for your success and will take time out of their day to help with that. Super important. Tell me a little bit about, as you're growing, as you're becoming more successful, at a certain point, you guys are like, all right, this pen and paper isn't working. You're the self-proclaimed kind of technology guru right now of the company. What was the point where you're like, all right, we're not doing it this way. We're going to go find something else. Like, what did that process feel like and look like for you guys?
So right shortly before we decided to go full time with the business, we met with a former coworker of Justin's who had opened up his own plumbing business. And he was willing to show us the software that he used and what situations worked well for him. And he was using House Call Pro at the time. So he actually let us go right through his database customer dashboard. And Justin realized that it was similar to some of the other companies that he had dealt with working for other people. And it was at a affordable price for a starting out small business. So it wasn't a second guess that we started with House Call. Throughout our time, there was a brief period where we had considered making a switch to another competitor due to our supply house having a relationship with that other company. And we made it like a week into the transition, and it just was complete and utter disaster. And so we went right back to House Call and have stayed that way ever since. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah. I think sometimes, I guess the old proverb is, the grass is greener where you water it. And sometimes, it's easy to see kind of bells and whistles and different things that are out there. But, you guys had chosen House Call Pro for a bunch of the right reasons. And one of the things, too, is it's affordable and it'll grow with you. Whether you're a $0 million a year company, $10 million a year company, our bread and butter is at 0 to 10. And so 95% of businesses are there. What a lot of folks don't realize is that, if you're doing a couple $1 million a year, you're in the top 0.1% of net worth of all individuals in the United States. And it's just it's amazing. And, I don't think enough people realize at how well our pros do and how much value there is to home service companies. When it comes to building, your business and getting word of mouth out there. I know that you guys are doing things to impact your local community. Tell me a little bit about why you do that and why that's important and what maybe somebody that's not doing about it should know that would cause them to kind of change course and probably be a little more involved in the local community.
So when we started the company, our tagline, I'll call it, was let our family take care of your family. So one of the things we really wanted to focus on was making sure that our customers knew that we are a small family-owned business. With, my kids go out in the field with Justin from time to time, but we also want to make sure that we're impacting those families. So we work closely with a local nonprofit that some of our family is involved with. And we spend a lot of time supporting that and supporting our local community to make sure that people do understand that we're not out there to, make $16 billion a year. We're out there to turn around and try to help other people too, on top of what we do.
Yeah. And when, you're out there in a local community, you guys are obviously in a smaller town. And so it might be a little different than, someone that was like, downtown Philly, versus, I don't know, how many people are in your town?
Maybe a couple thousand. It's fairly small. I mean, we're surrounded by bigger cities as well. I wouldn't say bigger, but larger cities that have a couple thousand. But where we're at, it is a very small, very tight-knit community with a lot of word of mouth. So part of our drive behind working with some of the local community foundations is getting our name out there. And it's organic advertising.
Yep. And in Shoemakersville, like what kind of organizations are you talking about? So like if I'm a pro that's like, okay, I'm also in a small town, or what sort of organization should I be looking for that I could donate time or resources or money or sponsorship? Like talk to me through what that looks like.
We're involved in a local nonprofit that gives financial scholarships to children with complex medical conditions. So we work closely with them. We also work closely with our local sporting groups, whether that be one of my kids' baseball teams, my oldest karate studio. We also partner with other local businesses to try to network. So the networking side of things has been huge for us. There are some local small networking groups here in the area that partner with real estate agents. So it gets us in front of new home buyers, sellers.
That's great.
We're partnered with plumbing companies because we don't do a ton of plumbing and general contracting. So really just getting out there into the community, whether that is supporting a nonprofit, supporting a local sports team, or supporting a networking group, anything to get your name out there has really been helpful for us.
Yeah. And so I think like the golden nugget there is there's no like one thing that you should be doing. It's just like there's a variety of different groups, whether it's like as an extension of your family, it sounds like, in like the sporting side, or it's just other local nonprofits that are supporting a cause that you particularly like. I think that there's not just, just join the Chamber of Commerce and that's enough. It's a variety of different things. And I think that'll keep you busy year round too, because different groups will have different periods where they're more active or raising money or what have you, different events.
Yeah, we
have done really
had donated a heating system to a family in need as well. So that really, not only did we feel fantastic that we were able to give something to a family who needed it, but it also got our name out there with, I believe, if my memory is correct, he was a farmer. So, he gave our name to other farmers in the area and other Facebook tagging us and everything. Your presence and what you put out there is really important because that reflects on what you want to look like as a business. So we want to look like as though we are family oriented and that we want to help every family possible, whether that's heating related or working with a local charity or nonprofit to help better lives and make sure that everybody is always safe, warm, and comfortable.
I like that. And safe, warm, and comfortable tagline too. I think when it comes down to it, I think as you're out there building a name for your business, a lot of people don't realize that you can give away your services And then from a financial standpoint, you can write that off as like a marketing expense.
Yep.
And then a lot of folks don't do that. And so they're like, oh my gosh, I'm out this much. But you could have just spent, I don't know, $5,000 on Facebook ads that maybe returned whatever it is. But by giving that to your community and being constantly tagged in Facebook posts and groups, and people don't understand the power of Nextdoor or the small Facebook groups that exist in a town, those people will remember and they'll keep tagging you. And that has a lifetime that's infinite versus just a one-time billboard you might buy.
Yeah, you can't put a dollar figure on stuff like that. We did, the whole billboard ads, and we get the majority of our work from word of mouth and local Facebook community groups. I do very little advertising on Facebook because it never really returned too much of an ROI for us. I get more out of people tagging us in posts on Facebook community groups than I do any other form of advertising.
Yeah. And then talk to me about that. So for folks that are like, well, how do you get work done if you're in these Facebook groups? What does it look like? Are you in all of these groups and are tagging you as an individual as like Amber DeLong? Or are they tagging like your business page? Like, how does that work? And then what do you reply with and respond with?
Most of them tag our business page. And I am in probably 40 different community groups.
Wow.
Yeah. My Facebook feed is literally nothing other than community groups. And I just browse through them and I monitor our, who's tagging our pages. And a lot of it is just either family and friends or existing customers who were just that happy with our service that they saw, somebody was looking for heating and air conditioning and tagged our page in it. And a lot of the times I'll just reply with thank you so much for recommending us. And I certainly hope we can help the original poster out.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think a lot of people kind of get this feeling where they're like, oh my God, it's gonna be a lot of work. I'm gonna be spending hours doing this. But I think your work kind of speaks for itself, and just staying, being grateful and saying thanks and we're here to help is enough. But if you don't have that Facebook page built for your business yet, my tip is go build that, become an admin of that so people can tag you both as an individual and as a business page. Because also the more times that your business gets mentioned, it follows the Facebook algorithm and you become like a suggested page for certain community groups. And there's all these other kind of side benefits that you don't really know happen under the cover, but it does, because Facebook's looking at everything that's happening and they're very, very smart.
And most people spend so much time on their phone anyways. It's scrolling through Facebook. Even if I'm sitting around watching TV in the evening, at least, I'm being semi-productive in either tagging the business page in a post or responding to a tag that somebody had tagged me in. I guess it's a better way to waste time on Facebook than just scrolling and watching reels or TikToks.
I get that all the time too. It's like, Roland, you're always on Facebook. Like, how are you getting anything done? Like, and you're on at 10 p.m. And I'm like, well, I've got a 9-month-old, so I might be up at 4 a.m. And, I don't know, if I'm scrolling, I get tagged, maybe I'll respond. But yeah, it doesn't have to be like, okay, 1 hour every day from 3 to 4, I'm going to be doing this. It could be kind of throughout the day and kind of sprinkle it in. And I think you can reap most of the benefits if you're just operating in that kind of a way. So, Amber, tell me about, when you're thinking about House Call Pro, what do you think is the most underrated feature that you think maybe doesn't get talked about enough, but you're like, oh man, that is this one key feature that doesn't get the light that it should?
That's a really easy question. And honestly, I didn't even think of the answer until I was talking to Justin shortly before we hopped on, is the ability to House Call auto sends a review to all of our customers. We're all but 200 5-star reviews on Google. And that is solely attributed to House Call Pro and how it automatically sends that review at the end of every appointment. We have more reviews than some companies who have been in business for 50 some years. So if you aren't using that feature, you 100% need to turn that on ASAP, because that is, if somebody's not telling me they're coming to us from Facebook, they're calling to tell me that they saw my Google reviews online. And that because we had so many good reviews, that's why they chose us over somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great tip because, if you haven't started it yet, start now. But there's a compounding nature to it as well, because the more you get, the more people that see you, the bigger you grow, the more reviews you get, the bigger of a lead you kind of get in front of the next person there. But even being able to have more reviews than your competitor that's been in business for way longer, is a real good testament to, like, if you don't ask, you don't get. And some people, it's kind of nerve wracking to ask for it. So just let the system do it for you, and it'll do it after every job automatically. Point it to your Google account, go start racking those up, because if you're not doing it, a competitor might be doing it. And so you want to stay ahead of that game for sure. And you guys have a glowing, like, perfect 5-star because of that. And obviously the great work that you do, right? Because you can't get the stars if you don't do the work in the right way.
Something off the plate of the technicians. It's one less thing that they have to remember to ask. It just automatically does it. I don't have to worry about making sure that this technician or that technician remembered to send their reviews or didn't send their reviews. It just happens automatically across the board for all of our customers, which is great.
Yeah. And what about, when you start with House Call Pro, there's a lot of things to turn on and dial in and to use. What's something that, besides, the reviews, you wish you had started kind of doing from day one? What's like a tip for either new folks that are listening in, or kind of like earlier stages than where you guys are at?
Come up with a system for job tags and customer tags right off the bat. Had I come up with a system that worked and properly tagged everything, I wouldn't be trying to go through 1,000 some customers to put job tags in 4 years later. So come up with a job tagging system that works and stick with it, and make sure that you're putting it on every job at every customer.
Yeah, I mean, that's great advice, because people are always like, oh, I want to pull this report or this report. I'm like, well, the data out is only as good as the data in. So are you putting in good data? They're like, oh, no, only half the people are tagged, and only 2 of my technicians do it. The other 2 don't do it. I'm like, well, it's going to be really hard to, run reports with inconsistent data. What's the system that you found that works for your business? Like if you were to be like, okay, Amber, I hear you. Like, can I just copy what you're doing? What are you doing? Like, what did you find really works for you?
So I've found tagging customers by system type. So if they have an oil system, tag them oil system customer. If they're a service contract customer, tag that as well. Tagging everything as far as do not send review. If we know somebody's a little unhappy, making sure that tag goes on there. Or aggressive dog. Sometimes Justin enjoys using job tags to bill from office. If it's somebody that we don't collect from at the time, that our technicians know that I'm the one responsible for collecting that payment. I also tag based on our service contracts. So if they had, depending on which plan they have, I have each tag set up for each plan. So it's nice and easy for a technician to know, and for myself to know, what service contract they have and what service contract they paid for.
Oh, those are great ones. I love it. I think, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm only going to just put like where they heard about me from, or the referral source. But there's so many other creative ways to use it. I love, if you're using our service agreements, you might call them memberships, you might call them recurring service agreements or memberships. There's so many different ways to call them. But if you're using that feature, if you've got different plan tiers and types, like easily being able to see that is such a great tip for sure. And if you're not doing that, it just makes it a little bit harder to like click into to figure out, what are they on? Do I give them a 20% discount or a 10% discount, or, types of questions like that. I really like how you guys doing that. What about just in general from a business standpoint? If you're like, all right, Amber. All right, 2021 Amber. We're getting in the business here. Here's 2 things you should do. What are those 2 things?
Sign up for Conquer pretty well off the bat. Had I signed up for Conquer earlier than this last year, probably my profits would have looked a little bit differently. Take foundations and profitability. I would also institute pipeline a heck of a lot earlier than what I did. Because that takes the headache of having to follow up on estimates completely off my plate. Every once in a while, I'll follow up with some really old ones just to see if I can drum up any other business. But it has completely eliminated my need for follow up on almost anything.
I love that. It's good tips. Yeah, and for those that don't know, Conquer is like the business coaching that House Call Pro offers, and our goal is to champion all of our pros to success. And software is just one piece of the puzzle, and just knowing your numbers, knowing your business, the foundations that you talked about, or the foundations level that we have. There's so many good resources in there that you get access to. And then the pipeline tool is really interesting because, yeah, once you got it set up and you've got the sequence for the estimate follow-ups, you don't have to think about it anymore. And I think, like you mentioned with the reviews too, there's like one less thing that you have to just like think about is better, whether it's for yourself or for technicians or both. Whatever you can do to focus on the customer interactions, I think, I would take all that time back and put it all back into that customer interaction, because long term, that's really what they're going to remember. Super great tips. Well, Amber, it was really nice to chat with you. Thank you for sharing so many golden nuggets with our pros. Do you have any last parting words or any shout outs or anything else you want to throw out there?
Really, at the end of the day, don't give up. I mean, it's not easy, but no matter what, you always have somebody that you can reach out to. And I open myself up to connecting with other pros. And if anybody ever has any questions, I'm always available by email. I'm in all the House Call Pro Facebook groups. I'm always more than happy to help anybody out if they need it. And give some guidance where I probably could have used some back in the beginning. But it's a rewarding experience, even if the headaches are pretty headachy some days.
Yeah. It comes with the territory of owning your own business. Yeah. If you want to reach out to Amber, her email is amber@DeLongandSonsHVAC.com. And then obviously you can find her on Facebook fairly easily inside the groups as well. So Amber, as always, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And for all our listeners tuning in, tune in next week for another special edition of the Superpro podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care.
The Superpro podcast is brought to you by House Call Pro, the leading platform for the home service industry. House Call Pro streamlines your workflows and simplifies everything from scheduling and dispatching to communication and billing. Unlock the full potential of your home service business with House Call Pro. Work smarter and more efficiently with streamlined workflows and detailed analytics. Win more business and serve your customers well, every single time. Join more than 40,000 home service pros who have already revolutionized their businesses. Work smarter with streamlined workflows, get organized with centralized information, and scale your business your way. Learn more at housecallpro.com.